so we're finally getting around to the video on grip. We've been busy, but it's not rocket science. I think we'll smash through this. It's obviously a few fundamentals that we really want to talk about. Things like the down grip, C-clamp over a U-clamp, and pretty much the positive and negatives to both of them.
Yeah, so I mean, these are pretty standard and basic little pieces of drills and knowledge that you need to have when you're actually going to operate any firearm. Going into C-clamps and U-clamps on that, obviously going on the different platforms such as ARs, AK-47s, LMs, all of those type of things. Talking about your down grip, I think it's pretty important. I see a lot of stuff where guys handle their firearm where they can easily cause canting for themselves. So I think it's a pretty important thing to get into for your shooter coming from a basic up to an advanced level.
Yeah, when it comes to a single round, you can pretty much hold the thing how you want. If you're aiming correctly and squeezing the trigger correctly, the round's going to go where you're aiming. But when it comes to those follow-up shots, rapid engagements, that's when the grip really comes into play.
100%.
Right, so over here I've got a CZ Scorpion SMG 9mm. You can see we've got the down grip installed over here. So anything where you have a slightly raised optic on it and the platform allows for it, which doesn't have a barrel sitting on top of your forend, a C grip is going to give you a much more manipulation of that firearm and much easier movement on it than going for the standard U clamp underneath. So that's a big mistake we see as guys who are used to shooting the AK-47, the R4s, and getting stuck in that U grip when we can actually go into a nice strong C clamp and get a lot more manipulation of that firearm and help you get that rearward traction into that shoulder pocket to allow for recoil control and better stability when shooting on the move.
Yeah, so a lot of guys using firearms such as AK-47 platforms or anything of the like, the Leals, all of that, obviously they're used to having a lot of surfaces where they can burn their hands, so they'll usually go for this U-clamp. Nothing wrong with it when you're using those platforms. However, if you're coming onto your AR platform, you could just get that benefit of using a C-clamp where you get that manipulation or a little bit better grip on your firearm. Another thing with that is getting into your U grip. It is quite difficult to use your full down grip as well, whereas in your C clamp you can easily get your bottom fingers around that down grip and get that purchase on it, as in where the U clamp is just around your actual front end of your firearm.
So there's two things that come into play for me here. Number one is you want to have that rearward traction on both hands. So you're obviously not pulling this thing so hard back that you're going to start shaking, but this hand is pulling it back into the shoulder pocket as well as your dominant hand on the pistol grip. The second thing is if you come down onto that down grip and pull, naturally I'm going to want to pull down, which means as my shots fire, I'm going to be pulling off my natural point of aim, where I want the traction to be directly through the firearm into the stock and into my shoulder. So that allows me to put my point of grip onto the barrel and then directly tract it back into my shoulder to allow for those follow-up shots a lot easier. So one thing we always say is don't hold it like a fucking dildo, right? Hold it like a down grip, get that rearward traction and pull it back. And when I release with my dominant hand, that dot should not move at all. If I practice it with this one and I release that dominant hand, immediately that firearm wants to drop. So that's a way that you can check that you've got that nice proper C grip and you let go and that red dot isn't moving off of the position when you release from your dominant hand. You can do the same check with your dominant hand, pull it straight back into the shoulder, release with the non-dominant hand, put it on back. You might get some left and right movement in that dot, but you should not get any up and down movement with that release.
Talking about your dominant hand, that's the hand that you're actually going to squeeze the trigger with. It's not left or right. It's the one you're going to squeeze your trigger with. You want to, the same as with a pistol, get basically the tang, as this looks like a pistol grip, nice high and tight, and grip around as you would a pistol. However, with platforms such as the AR, I would always recommend keeping your thumb on top of the safety catch there so that you can easily manipulate that safety catch up and down. Furthermore, you don't want to squeeze this grip so that you get white knuckles and shake. It needs to be firm and strong, but most of your purchase that you're going to get on this firearm is going to be equalized between these two hands into your shoulder and pulling it back in. So there's no reason to actually white knuckle squeeze this firearm. Squeeze it firm and strong, and then you get that nice purchase back into the shoulder from both arms. As equal as you can get it. There's no way you're going to hear me.
Another important point is cheek weld and whether or not it is necessary. Obviously, having those 3 points of contact, front hand, rear hand, and cheek, super important, but it's not always 100% necessary, especially as we start raising our sights. Keeps our head and eyes postures nice and high, and when you raise that firearm, you aren't always going to get a perfect cheek weld because now you're looking below your sights. So you can obviously go for the bottom end of your chin if you want that extra stability to suck it in, but depending on the height of your optic over your bore, maybe sometimes you're not even going to get that cheek weld at all, and you're just going to be relying on the traction of the two hands.
100%, and as long as you've got a good sight picture and you've got a good dot on target, squeeze your trigger well, and you've got a good grip and stance, you'll be fine.
Especially when we go to our smaller calibers, our 5.56 and 9mm.
100%.
It's not 100% necessary to have that strong cheek weld, especially as soon as we start using raised optics.
But if you can, you should.
100%.
Alright guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of a dildo grip here. I'm not going to seat my hand as though I was going to seat it properly, a lot of space here, and I'm also not going to get the traction that I require from both hands as equal as I can get, and do a rapid engagement onto the steel target. You'll probably hear it miss there if I do, and see how it goes. After that, I'll show you some proper grip, also rapid engagement, and then we'll see how or if it goes better. We grab it somehow. So that definitely, you could feel my first few shots was on, and it just had a complete climb that was out of control for the shots that I was trying to take, which ended up in, I believe, quite a few extreme misses there. I'm going to get into having a proper grip with the C-clamp, getting this into my shoulder, and having a proper dominant hand grip as well. That nice equal pull with both hands, and rapid engage, see if I can keep the shots on target a bit better there. Right, so let's go.
Right, so a nice little drill that we run to get the guys to correct their grip and make sure it's ready for those follow-on shots is setting yourself a par timer with 5 rounds. So we'll start off with 5 rounds in 5 seconds. On the beep, engage all 5 rounds. Try your best to space them out so your last round is fired on the last beep. From there you take it down to 4 seconds, still 5 rounds. From there you take it down to 3 seconds, 5 rounds, and then you finish off at 2 seconds, 5 rounds. And that way you can feel when that sight is rising out and try and correct it on the next one with maybe a little bit more traction, maybe a little bit more of a correction on the grip, maybe a little bit more of a cheek weld. It's just a nice little drill to see where you are with regards to fighting that recoil and if your grip is correct. First practice, 5 rounds, 5 seconds. Shooting ready. Stand by. We'll bring it down to 4 seconds. Good. Stand by. Right, down to 3 seconds. Right, and 2 seconds. Right, shoot down 1.5. Shooters ready. Stand by.
And reckon we were in.
Right, gents, so that's pretty much that on grip. Short and sweet. We do go a lot more in depth on it with our marksmanship on our courses. But those are the common errors that we're seeing. Guys not having that positive traction rearward with both hands, incorrectly holding the down grip, and then obviously the difference between the U-clamp and the C-clamp.
I also think the important thing here is to know that you can go to your local range, practice this. The important part is not to put too much pressure on yourself, but focus on the drills. Don't rush it. Don't try and shoot too fast, too soon. Very, very true thing to say is that myself, all the guys here, we also do make mistakes. We also do throw shots off of target when doing these things properly. We're only human, so just enjoy shooting and become more proficient in what you do.
Yep, chap.
Cheers, Owen!